Hi guys, my name is Wilfred and welcome to yet another video on WoW Buster. You may be wondering why there are so many WoW Buster videos lately. It is because right now there's quite a lot of discount happening. It's almost at half price if you get it now. So I thought I'd do some video on covering this early access game to give you a flavor to see whether it is your cup of tea or not. Or would you like to take this opportunity to get it now, enjoy the discount, or wait for it a little bit later until the game has more features inside. The decision, of course, is always yours. So in this video, I am going to run through the journey from about 34 until 50, which is the level cap. So my wife and I have spent about 8 hours playing together, and we managed to complete the leveling experience, which is not going to be a very long experience, very much like, I think, well, it's a little bit slower than Marvel Heroes, because I think in Marvel Heroes you could actually level up a character to cap in about 1 to 2 hours. I think if you play Diablo, you probably can do it a couple of hours as well. But I think 8 hours is kind of respectable in some sense, because after that you can start gearing, you can start doing things that level cap people do. Now, by the way, if you see that we are struggling in this kind of boss fight, it is because now we have graduated from the easy difficulty and moving into the harder one. And also our gear is not really up to it as yet, but then soon you'll see that the fight getting easier and easier as we get more gears and more skill points and so on. So you will see a difference here in this short video. That is a condensed version of our leveling experience from 34 all the way to 50. Right. So I touched down on a little bit on the difficulty level, and also I think when you started playing this game, you started with the training level, which is the very basic, I think in other games just call it normal, but they call it training. So training is what you've been seeing a lot of time. And so this is normal. Now normal difficulties is one higher than the training. The content is more or less the same. You run into the same kind of dungeon. It is just that when you play the normal mode, you have extra areas. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 extra areas that you see. Actually there are 4, but I haven't really get there yet. And it's kind of like a more open area rather than so far you've seen is through just one way leading into the mini boss and then the boss. But for those kind of areas, it's more open. You have the hunts for the elite that matters, and then spawn the mini boss and then take down the boss. So it's slightly different in a way. Yeah, so it's just looking really scary. This fight got a little bit distracted. Okay, so this is normal, and the next one is called expert. So once I presume I've completed all the normal quests, and then the expert will then start to open up. And expert is where you start to grind for gear and get some of the end game gear. Now, from what I've seen so far, at least from the crafting perspective, there's quite a lot of tiers after the normal or after even expert. It seems to me there are quite a few tiers to it. So I do not know how hard or how easy it is when it comes to the expert mode, but I'm very keen to see. And what other game modes would there be? Because when I read the game description, there are quite a number of game mode for the once you hit level 50. So I'd like to see what other things are there out there, and as and when I see something interesting, I will be reporting my my findings. Now over here, this fight, there are 3 bosses. So I thought initially I would I'll try to take down one while my wife will take down the other 1 or 2, and we try to separate because there's one poison boss that's always in the middle. So initially we chatted and we thought maybe we should just bring them apart and try to tackle them individually. But then the kill time is just too long. Now the problem with long kill time is that I don't think there's an enrage counter, but as the fight drags on, there are more and more ads that comes in. There will be drop, the pot will come down, and more enemies will spawn and become harder and harder. And we have experienced defeat in this game when we deal with the boss fight, especially when our gear is not that great. But it it is not going to be good if you try to drag it for too long. So in the end, I was just telling my wife that forget it. I mean, let's just group them together and try to just do our best to avoid as much damage as we could. But there are 3 bosses, so it's kind of rather hard to do it. So yeah, and it's kind of interesting that the ad that you destroy doesn't really. By the way, those are the drop pod. So the ad that you destroy doesn't really add on to experience point. I don't think so. So you really want to take down the boss ASAP in this kind of scenario. And there's a lot of environmental kind of like a headset as well. So there are areas that I just can't linger for too long. It's one of my favorite fight actually. It's like 3 bosses and lasts for quite a while. Just like Diablo 3, you do not want to be defeated during the boss fight because you will not be able to participate, and your team will have to pick up from where you are. If they can revive you during the battle, that's fine, but sometimes if they can't, then yeah, it's just too bad. And I've seen it before, and what happened is that you can't even get the loot, like the boss drop. So each boss in this game will drop a material, and I think it's rather random or by tier, I don't really know. But what is happening is that for crafting, you usually require crafting material from the bosses. So boss drop something, you loot them, and you collect them, and then eventually you can craft something good from it. So that is my take from it so far. And because of that, I've started writing an article just to keep track of all the locations versus all the bosses, because if there are some materials that I want right now, I really can't recall which boss come from where. And unlike other games, I mean, this game is not that popular, so there's no Wikipedia. So as I said in my last video, I've got a Steam group called the Heroes of the Titan, and I put the link in the description below. And I'm starting to put my thoughts and things that I learned inside as well. And for those who have joined the Steam group, thank you for joining. And if you'd like to contribute in some way what you've learned, what is useful for you, do put it in as well so that we all can share. And ultimately, my idea is that we use the Steam group to organize events, because I think at the end game it's not going to be trivial, and it is ideal to have a full team to go in. It will take a while for us to get there, because I think even the group composition, from what I read, is important. Right now I just started 1 character, but there are altogether 12 of them, so it may be good if you have like a team of, say, tanks versus healer versus melee versus range, because some boss fight I realize that it's rather hard for melee, and some I would imagine it's rather hard for the range. So just something to think about there. And as you can see, I mean, once I get better gear, the boss fight getting a little bit less scary. It is still pretty scary on itself. All right, now so maybe the next part of the video, I'd like to talk about some of the high point and the high notes and not so high notes about this game, because I do not want to oversell this game and after that you guys say, dude, I don't really like your channel because you're not genuine. I mean, for those of you who has been following me for quite some time, probably know me as someone that I just speak what I think. I don't really have any like regard on. I mean, with all due respect, I think the audience is important as well. I do not want to oversell any game on its own. So I think some of the high note is that I'm not going to repeat too much what I've said before, but as you can see, there's a lot of action going on. It is not about trying to click on the floor, what kind of loot that you're going to pick up or whatnot. It's nothing about that. It's everything is just like action. There's quite a fair bit of like management in health, management of even mana point as well, and and also you can break stun, but there's a cost to it. So everything has a cost to it, and I find it rather refreshing that I have to trade off even on what I do here. So it's a lot of action. I find it very, very engaging in a sense that I can see very clearly what's going to happen. Like this fight here, I can clearly see that the boss is like going to do this action, that action, and how I am going to get away from it. And by the way, I mean, you know, this kind of thing also depends on the build. I chose a build that is mobility, so you can see me dodging left and right with my ability, and I don't really use my stamina to do it. While my wife would have to rely on stamina, which is the yellow bar below the health bar, to dash around. And you can only dash, you know, for a number of time before it's been depleted, and then after that you cannot dash anymore. So some would need to think through that. And yeah, by the way, this is the one of the new areas I'd like to showcase to you, a little bit of like open areas where I find it quite interesting. So yeah, I mean, the action part of it, I love it. I mean, I love it a lot. And by the way, how this like open area works is that you have to hunt for the boss, like, you know, one of these mini boss, and you have to take down the correct one. So once you take down the one that matter, is called Mark 2, I think. Then the mini boss, before the boss would spawn, take down the mini boss, and then you have access to the boss. That's how it works here. So, you know, the ideally you just go around doing all these things. And there are also quite a fair bit of mineral for mining as well, which I find it quite interesting. I mean, it's hard to describe, but the cost of these assembling items is actually pretty high. It's very high, actually. You know, if I am to these assemble items that actually come back with the material itself, I may not even earn enough, meaning that I would, by the way, this Mark II is one that's different. I would not even earn enough gold net. I'll make a loss if I disassemble everything. So there's also a lot of trade-off of what to disassemble or not. So now, after you take down the mini boss that matter, then the broken commander will get spawned, and then after that you head off to, this is the broken commander, which is Parduke. I don't think he has any loot. I don't know, maybe he has loot. Yeah, so this one is done, and after that you could actually face the boss, which something that we haven't seen before. It's called the Dusk Thorn, and I thought it's nice to show you some footage. And you know, the reason why I also like to see a little bit of like a clip is because it does give you some hint of what the boss does, like leaping or what, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, where was I? So yeah, I mean, that is probably some of the high point that I can. It's full of action, and it's rather easy to pull off certain ability. It's not too complex that you have to remember all the combo like some of the Korean online game these days. There's a lot of like combo to remember, so there aren't really. It is very like a Diablo 3 kind of like mechanism, or like Marvel Heroes. Actually, it's simpler than Marvel Heroes in some sense. And that is probably the high point. Some of the lower point is probably, you know, this is still early access. Some of the quests, I think it just too, I would say, tedious, because there is a lot of dialogues. So I don't know whether you guys have played other Korean ARPG or not, or Korean, yeah, like Closers is another one that is good example of where things are. Is that, or even Mu Legion as well, that has the Korean kind of like flavor to it, is that there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of like a FedEx kind of like a thing. Like you have to talk to person A, tell the person about something, and after that go back to the person B, and then relay the message, and after that, you know, go back to person A, grab something, and then come back to person B, and tell them that I like the something that I have, what not. So I don't know. I mean, and without voice acting, you know how things go. It's like there's so many words, and after a while, I just don't really care too much about the word itself. So definitely the story is one of the lower point for me in this game. I wish that it wasn't that tedious. Yeah, I mean, am I coming into this game for the story? Probably not. I mean, if I don't know. It's a hard thing to say, because if I play a lot of like ARPG at the end game, I don't really care about story that much. Like if I play Diablo 3, if I start a new season, what do? By the way, that's yet another new area, also open area. Same concept, look for the commander that's different, spawn a mini boss, and after that take down the big boss. So yeah, back to Diablo 3 is that, you know, I've played the story mode once, the initial 4 act, I don't know, 5 years ago or more when it first launched. And then after that, I've also played the Act 5, which is the Reaper of Soul once. And you know, during the time when I first played, it was fun because it's sort of like, you know, okay, there's a story to it. But you know, if you start a new season for Diablo 3, what do? Well, you try your best to level up very fast. If you have a friend to carry you 45 minutes, you get to end game, level 70. But if not, like my wife and I, we just do some bounty, and bounty has no story to it. It's just quest, meaning that, you know, destroy that many, take down that many enemies, or go there, trigger the curse chest event, or this and that. I mean, there's no story to it per se at all. If you look at games like maybe Path of Exile, you know, I think the reason why I look at the story right now is because of the new Act 5 to Act 10, which I find it okay, you know, let me just recollect all the story that I have not really listened to. But to be very honest, when I first played the Path of Exile, I probably have listened to the story up until Act 3 maybe. After that, it's like, you know, the dialogue just seems too long. And I don't really like play it for the story anymore. I just click through the dialogue, and I just would like to, by the way, there's also another boss that you guys haven't seen it before. And I just click through it, and I would just, I want to reach end game. So what is end game for Path of Exile? Well, it's the lab, you know, the mapping. I've done a lot of mapping, and mapping has no story. Well, you help Zana versus, you know, her father, whatnot. But it is not really a story per se. I mean, you know, you could also say that this is a story right now you're seeing because, you know, the humans are retreating to the planet of Titans, while the Broken, which is the cyborgs, are taking over the world. And your job is to take down as many Brokens as possible, which is what we are doing right now here. But this is not really a story, is it? So, so same as like quite a lot of ARPG that I've seen, none of them really give me the kind of like a story feel to it. I don't really care too much about the story. And you could argue that Marvel Heroes is one that probably has the best story, which I do not disagree, because their cutscene is pretty well made. I mean, looking back, the cutscene was pretty well made, and the story seems to be, before the biggest update ever, the story seems to be less linear and so on. But I think, you know, towards the end, once you've done it for like 10 times, you know, do you want to do it for 60 odd heroes? And that is also one of the reasons why I found that you know, even for Marvel Heroes, it's kind of good to be able to skip through a story, but then towards the end we couldn't, because that gave us the best XP. So you just have to do a story up until at chapter 3 or 4, and you know, you call it a day. So, you know, you always do the same 3 or 4 chapter for every heroes that you are leveling or prestiging, but that's not really a story that you enjoy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you know, the story may not be that important, and I think back to this game is that I found the story is a bit too much just walking around and reading text, and that's one thing that I don't really enjoy that much. And by the way, this fight looks really messy because there's really a lot of things going on. Then I try to take down the ad, and there's so many things, fire, everything, and I think my wife's taking down the boss while I try to take down the ads, and this is really kind of like a scary. And the good thing about playing next to my wife is that I actually can hear what she's doing. Like she's taking the health kit, like med kit, health potion, or stuff like that. So I can really keep an eye out for my wife as well. It's kind of nice. But I think maybe that's why we kind of like this game. And when she first looked into this boss, she said, "Oh, that's Modok." I said, yeah, maybe that is really Modok because there's only a big head there. Now, but I mean, must ARPG be that terrible in story writing? I guess not. And I can tell you that games like Titan Quest, I think it's been written like it's been created like 10 years ago, which I still play, by the way. The story is perfect. It's not too long. The dialogue is not as long as Path of Exile, for example. I mean, Path of Exile, some of their voice acting are pretty good, but some are really dragging on. And I wish that they could just shorten the paragraph for like a lot. But if you look at Titan Quest, it's kind of interesting because you click on someone, they tell you something relevant to the story at this point of time. Not telling story of each other, which is what Path of Exile does, but really telling story about what is happening to the game right now, to the story right now. And after that, you can click once, listen to the first part of the story. If you find it interesting, you can click again, and then click again. So there's some interaction there. So it is like sometimes when you listen to a story, you go So it's like the kind of like acknowledgement rather than say Path of Exile, which is like very much just clicking through the reading very long text of like one person talking to the other, a very long story. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, I don't know why I talk so much about story, but I think it's something that I'm very passionate to talk about. And I think back to this game is that if I could feedback to this game, just write a better story to it. Something that is that's engaging, creating some kind of urgency, some kind of backstory about the boss. Maybe they have, maybe it's just that it's not coming out nicely. Rather than have so many quests going back and forth, and you have to take a plane, fly to area A, talk to someone, come back to area B, kind of thing. So yeah, those things I think they should have just got away with it. And one other thing that of concern is it's always the cost that I find it quite concerning as well, because there are a lot of things cost gold, and I do not know how well it is when it comes to end game to earn gold. But I found that this is one currency that's rather hard to grant. So yeah, so that is my feedback so far about the game. But other than that, and both my wife and I really having a fun time, just doing things up and just having fun time on this one. I don't know whether we've done this boss yet, but it looks quite hard though, because it's a lot of action going on really. So what's next? Maybe let's talk about what's next. Oh, by the way, yeah, this is the one that is haven't done before, I think. So yeah, another open area and design plane. So yeah, another different kind of map looking. And a bit open area like before. You just need to try to spawn the gatekeeper for the broken commander, then after that take down the boss. So yeah. Okay, so what's next for us? We are going to complete the normal journey, and I think because of the XP buff that we have, the 8% during grouping, we managed to hit level 50 before we've completed the normal mode. So we intend to do that. Then after that, we would like to tackle the expert, just do some gear farming. I think for me though, I would like to study a little bit on the build and a bit of the stats as well, because the stat doesn't seem too complicated. However, there's quite a lot of stats that are unwritten. So because I don't really see how things are working out in some of these stats like armor, how does it really mitigate? I mean, I can't really tell on what things does, like intensity. What does that mean? I don't know. So so it's something that I would like to spend some time to study a little bit. I don't know, and to see what kind of stats are good for me. And yeah, as you can see here, it's just a bit more about the this behind the scene kind of thing. That's what happened. Okay, so this Mumbler, which is one of the other bosses, eating something while we went in, and well, obviously he's not pleased. And we're going to gear up and we try to see what the crafting is like. Wow, he's like smashing the ground like that. It's like my my Molten Strike Path of Exile Slay, not Slayer, Raider. Ooh, wow. I mean, I'm just looking at this. He does Shunda as well. He does run cone damage. This is rather exciting. 49, so we are just like 3% from the level 50. Let me see. And he healed himself as well. Yeah, I remember this part. I was like, man, that's cheating. But then again, I heal myself as well. But at least he doesn't heal himself to a full. Otherwise, it'd be rather stupid. Yeah, so this boss does a couple of things. He burned the ground, does massive AOE. And this is a good time to actually study the boss as well, because I presume the expert level would be quite hard. And he healed himself again. So he smashed the ground to Shunter, and after that teleport out, burn the ground as well. Then after that he does a huge AOE. Then get out from that. Yeah, I got stuck. So I do a jailbreak, by the way. Button number 3 is jailbreak that require. I don't think you can buy the item even. So it is quite interesting. You try to avoid being stunned, and if you do, you can get out of stun, especially if your health is low. And after that, it just costs you an item. You can't do it too often. You can't spam it like in Marvel Heroes, but something that you should, yeah. And with that, I'm the, I hit the level 50, and if I wasn't playing an Ultimate Edition, they would randomly unlock another hero for me to play until I finish playing everything. So I hope you enjoy this video. Do let me know in the in the comment box below how you feel about it, and what are some of your concerns as well. I'll try my best to feedback to the developers, because I think I still do have a channel with them to communicate some of these feedbacks that you guys have. And I do not know how many more of this kind of video I'm going to produce, because there are other games I'd like to play as well. But I mean, this is early access, right? So early access is something that is not going to be it's finished product. So it's good to play a bit, pause a bit, then play a bit and come back to it again. So yeah, and that's my plan though. I mean, I don't plan to complete the whole level up every single heroes right now, but I would like to, like once I achieve some good milestone, take a break, and then when they announce some new addition to it, like players housing or some new game mode, then go back in and play a little bit more. And that's a good thing about it, right? I mean, you always keep it fresh. And look at how expensive it is. $2,500. I mean, gold to just this assemble things. So, but yeah, it is what it is. So I'll see you again next time, and have a good celebration though. Happy New Year. Bye.